Get started at the pyramid, just about set to jump center. Incidentally, have a special ceremony here. A 16-year-old Jack Gaines, who you see right there in the center of your screen from the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, will hand the ball off rather than throw it up in a ceremonial tip-off. And we are just about set to go. Big thrill for that 16-year-old. Hardaway will jump center against Corey Blunt. And I haven't seen him lose too many jumps.
He does a little of everything.
He lost that one. And Larry Finch has emphasized time and again that he wants Anthony Hardaway to shoot the ball more than he has been.
He has a tendency, you're right, to be a little unselfish, and this is a game where he cannot afford to do that. Memphis State will open up man-to-man defense. We'll see a lot of man-to-man for both teams. Cincinnati also likes that three-quarter and half-quarter trap.
Martin along the baseline with the reverse, and that's something they will do all night if you let them.
And immediately we're going to see Cincinnati's pressure. You got to get it to the middle against this press. And Coles and how he operates against it be very important.
You saw Van Exel on the
double
floor.
Dribble that time on Coles' part.
Credit Van Exel with that.
That's an unforced turnover. Memphis State cannot afford turnovers. Cincinnati just thrives on turnovers.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Memphis State. Billy Smith really has been the guy who actually has played better against Cincinnati than Anthony Hardaway, his better-known teammate. Anthony Douglas always steady and always seems to play big, oddly enough, on ESPN. Turnaround Blunt.
Cincinnati immediately off to a quick start. Look where the shots are coming. Right now, everything in the paint. Then they get a chance to get into their pressure defense.
And their trap is a monster. And there it is again. 2 turnovers. Tigers have not had a shot yet. Jackson, the penetration. Give it up nicely to Martin. Missed the shot. Blocked by, I believe it was Allen who blocked the shot. Blunt, or rather, Nelson gets it back. He misses it. Finally, it's controlled by Memphis State.
And another trap immediately. Now, once you break the pressure, you got to look to score. Take advantage of it.
Good effort that time. Hardaway with a terrific pass to Smith.
Barry against this pressure. When you beat it, if you beat it, you got to look to score immediately. That slows that aggressive tendency for Cincinnati down a little bit.
Something they were working on at the shoot-around this afternoon when we were out here.
Of course, that's easier said than done. This is an excellent defensive-oriented Cincinnati ball club. They really force you to earn everything. Don't concede anything. Foul down low on Hardaway.
And with Cincinnati, it isn't only the first trap that you have to worry about. They'll trap you again, and their second trap is as deadly as their first. Here are the lineups for Cincinnati. Corey Blunt, remember, they played the first half of the season without Corey Blunt. When he got eligible, if anything, they got better, and this was a pretty darn good team to start with Eric Martin, Nelson, and of course we talked about Van Exel, outstanding player, and Jackson as well.
And Blunt brings a new dimension to Cincinnati's team. He had a double-double Saturday in Cincinnati when the Bearcats dismantled the Tigers for the regular season championship.
On the other hand, he got in foul trouble early last night. Didn't play very much, and when he did play, wasn't very productive.
He spent much of the night in Bob Huggins' doghouse. They'd like to get out of that quickly tonight.
Martin behind the Nelson screen. Finger roll wouldn't go. Follow did, and they're going to say no basket, I believe.
Early on, a positive for Cincinnati. They are being very aggressive. Bob Huggins' team getting to the bucket. They are taking it right at Memphis State. Right now, every shot that's been thrown up has been in that paint area. That's a high percentage shot, as well as it puts you in excellent rebounding position.
And, of course, as soon as you start cracking down on that, they're a terrific perimeter shooting team. They can throw 3 guards at you, all of whom can shoot. Smith gives it up that time to Allen. Missed the shot. And rebound quickly down to Martin. Ahead it goes to Blunt, ahead of everybody.
Just like that, Memphis State with a chance at the other end. They don't get back defensively, and Cincinnati beats them back for a transition bucket.
You were talking about how important the first 10 or 15 minutes of this game is. Offensive foul, terrific defensive play by Nelson.
Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, Cincinnati wants to neutralize this obvious predominant home court Memphis State crowd. Let's look at it. Here's the problems, the pressure-wise. Good positioning that time. Drawing the charge on Anthony Douglas. He's not the guy that Memphis State wants to be handling the basketball. Memphis State already with 3 early turnovers. The other thing, in the 6 games the last 2 years, Cincinnati has won 5 of them. They have led at the half in 5 of those 6 games.
Made a double screen for Jackson. Instead, he put it on the floor, got into the paint, missed the leaner, and Douglas rebound.
Now, this is where Memphis State wants to get in transition. You don't want to allow Cincinnati to have a chance to set up a trap. That's an NBA three-pointer in the back.
No problem. Exactly the way he intended.
Well, that's one way to shoot over the defense. Just set up beyond the defense. He's 6 feet beyond. 19-9 that time.
No, he said Larry Finch wants him to shoot. He didn't say where, did he? And actually, he has to take his first shot. Blunt facing him.
Memphis State's defense has got some matchup problems. If you gamble against this Cincinnati team, they will find the open man quickly. Very unselfish play.
Another turnover, number 4. Martin with Coles. Hardaway is down.
And Coles with the foul.
And meantime, Hardaway writhing in pain at the other end of the floor, and that is bad news. Should point out last night, Hardaway did have some cramps. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's what this is, although he's pulling on his toes, which is sometimes an indication of that. I don't know.
Well, right now, the Memphis State trainer has not gone onto the court, so that's one player that Larry Finch cannot afford to lose. He lost David Vaughn, of course, the first game of the year against Arkansas. Here's the pressure. Okay, a pretty clean strip that time, and Hardaway just went down. And then here's what happens as a result. Martin's going to go down. Sidney Coles coming in trying to stop it.
Whoa.
Should be an intentional foul there.
Should be.
Very
block.
fortunate that was not called. The other point talking about Cincinnati getting off to a good start. The 10-minute mark in the first half, I think, is crucial because Memphis State has to stay close in that range. Cincinnati has the ability to blow this game wide open, much like they did the game Saturday in Cincinnati. Another turnover, the 5th on Memphis State.
Most of them were forced. One was not. Van Exel's first shot misses. Martin saves for Blunt to Van Exel. That's a tough shot. And Martin follows him.
The other thing that impresses me about the Cincinnati club, Barry, you and I talked about it, coming into this game, they had scored 202 more field goals than the opposition. Well, you say, what about the free throws? They've scored 5 more free throws. It means they get a lot more opportunities. They thrive on turnovers.
There's a terrific pick by Martin. He was just one-on-one that time with Smith, and he picked a 3-on-2. Martin on the wing, missed a shot. Hardaway clear.
Look how quickly Cincinnati's already got 4 guys back defensively. No run opportunity.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that earlier today, as a matter of fact. It's a team that, last night at least, I've now seen them 3 times this year. Van Exel to the basket, missed the shot. Blunt follows, he misses. And a rebound to Coles. I've not seen him be beat on defense yet. Hardaway short.
Billy Smith crashing in, picks up the foul.
So we'll take a timeout. 15:22 remaining first half. Bearcats out quickly. They lead the hometown Tigers by 7. We'll be back.
The Metro Conference, Virginia Tech against VCU. Kenny Harris, he transferred over from North Carolina, knocks down a 3-pointer. 16 points in the first half. VCU has the lead at 42-33. TCU is down to Texas Tech at halftime in the Southwest. And in the Pac-10, UCLA getting blown out.
It's a non-physical game, right? Well, take a look at this action. Cincinnati swarming all over the place. Kelvin Allen and company in there. Mr. Nelson greets Kelvin. And we're going to go the other way. But right now, the story of the game, look how many attempts Cincinnati has. Already 10 more. And the points off turnover, Memphis State's committed 6 turnovers. It's led to 6 Bearcat points.
15-15 remaining first half. It's been all Bearcats on both ends of the floor so far. They lead it by 7, and I'd have to say Memphis State is lucky to only trail by 7 at this point.
Very fortunate. Right now, it's all Cincinnati. They're taking it right at Memphis State, much more aggressive, and Memphis State has got to regain their composure.
Yeah, Richmond ball game now for Memphis State. They're trying to get some help at the point. Great move by Van Exel, and he rolls it in with the left hand and whoops at Mitchell.
And a little discussion. Van Exel likes to talk. That's his game. That's not unusual.
There's a travel that he got away with, and Allen missed a shot anyway. Had it blocked out of bounds. It'll be Memphis ball.
Now, this is the point in the game, Barry, where Anthony Hardaway and his Tiger teammates, they got to find a way to get him involved. Bob Huggins has done a great job the last 2 years really slowing Hardaway down. They do it with multiple people. They wear him down, very physical against Anthony Hardaway. Terry Nelson taking his seat. But you got to get the ball in your star's hand. He's got to be the guy you go down with, if you go down with, but you got to give him a lot of opportunity.
Douglas on the baseline. They shut him off nicely. Blunt doing a good job on him. Hardaway way outside, misses that, and the rebound to Blunt.
Look at Van Exel had released. They didn't see him in time.
Easy jumper is missed that time, actually, by Boston.
Look at the Cincinnati shots. Uncontested shots, whereas Memphis State is just having to work so hard at the other end.
And Eric Martin has picked up his 10th point of the ballgame.
This is very similar to the game on Saturday where Cincinnati got out early and Memphis State never able to get back in it.
They're going to push this time on Blunt.
Well, that's a good job by Memphis State of breaking the pressure, getting it to the middle, and the Tiger partisan fans happy for the personal foul whistle that time against Cincinnati. That's the first foul on the Bearcats, the reason for the resounding cheers. But Bob Huggins' team in that trap that they run, it does such a good job of disorganizing your offense. You spend 20, 25 seconds just avoiding the pressure. Forget looking to score.
It really has been the hallmark of this team. Douglas tried to look inside. Martin overplayed it nicely.
Again, there's a great example. Everything just avoid. Can't do that. Mitchell never established his position on the floor when he went out of bounds. You got to have both feet on the playing surface prior to touching the ball.
In that case, it's lucky for Mitchell because that was going to be an easy basket for Cincinnati.
But that's a great example. Again, everything in that sequence was just to avoid Cincinnati pressure. Never even had a look at the basket.
Mike Harris, number 32 in the ballgame now for Cincinnati. Cincinnati on a 10-0 run over the last 3 minutes of change.
The Bearcats could have asked for a better start playing on the Tigers' home floor, which incidentally, Cincinnati has a 2-1 record all time. They beat Memphis State here last year. They won the third time here last night.
And they are considered the home team here because this, for all intent, is a neutral court because it is a tournament game and they're the higher seed. Ergo, they're the home team.
But don't kid yourself for a minute. It is not a neutral court in terms of the fan support. But I'm very impressed with Cincinnati, their start. They've really come at Memphis State. Their game plan has worked perfectly. And again, Memphis State's had trouble handling the pressure and getting into any kind of offensive flow at their end.
Curtis Bostic at the line. Bostic, kind of an interesting story, too. He's a 7th-degree black belt.
Well, he's got the frame. I think I just concede that.
Yeah, that's right. You can be whatever degree you want. How about nth degree? Harris missed the follow. Douglas finally clears, and we got a foul. I think they're going to get Harris reaching in on Douglas.
The other thing in a game like this, Cincinnati's got a deeper bench. They can go 10 deep. They can keep the pressure going as long as they need to because they can go 5 extra bodies. Memphis State, once you get past the 7th, 8th man, they've got problems.
Allen comes back into the ballgame for Memphis State. Now Jarrell Horn leaves.
Against a team like Cincinnati, this pressure, you really need to see the offensive rebounds. Again, it's a law of averages. Cincinnati just getting a lot more opportunities. But you got to have a couple of ball handlers that can handle this pressure.
You saw that second trap a moment ago, and they can be devastating with that.
They just disorient you offensively. Again, everything right here just to avoid the pressure. Memphis State not even looking to score.
Nice pass that time, but Douglas couldn't hang on to it. The loose ball's picked up by Martin, who's having a big game. They got the numbers if they push it, but they don't. That's the other thing I like about Cincinnati, John, is they can play a half court. They're very patient when they choose to be. They'll take the cheap basket. They had a chance to run that time, but obviously Bob Huggins wanted them to back it out. So instead, Van Exel just simply sticks a 3.
Turnaround and a sneer from Nick Van Exel. That's a big-time shot. He's a big-time player in these games. Really has come on strong.
Douglas a little off balance with that. Followed by Allen won't go. Second shot by Allen won't go. Third shot by Allen does count it. They'll go to the line. They haven't been getting too many second-chance points before that.
Had only had one offensive board prior to that flurry on the glass for Memphis State. Take a look at it. Tigers good rebounding position. They got Douglas and Allen in there getting multiple cracks at it. And finally Allen gets the foul and he gets the basket to fall.
So finally, Memphis State breaks a long slide. Martin leaves. Martin has really been productive. 10 points, a lot of rebounds, and a defensive catalyst.
Kevin Allen's numbers on the year. The Tigers would like to get in the press also, but you got to make baskets to do that. Now they'll set their full court pressure. See, the old adage, the pressing teams like to be pressed. Normally no, but Cincinnati will cough it up.
Both presses working effectively. Douglas, however, almost had it stolen from behind by Blunt. Smith for three. And it comes down to the hands of Bostic. Physical game.
And a physical game is going to favor Cincinnati. They've got more bodies that they can use in that kind of matchup. I think the thing for Memphis State, you just got to take a deep breath now and realize you got plenty of time to get back in it. You are playing at home, so that's a comforting factor. If you get on a run, the crowd will get involved. Although this is a senior-dominated team for Cincinnati, so that won't affect them a lot. Nelson takes it right at Hardaway.
Nothing fancy about that. Bostic saw him post up. Little move around him to the basket. The whole attitude of Cincinnati, and talking with their coaches, is just don't let Hardaway beat you. Let the other guys beat you. And that's been what's happening so far.
Anthony Douglas beats the pressure, but if he's the guy that's going to have to break it off the dribble, it's going to be a long night for the Tigers.
Hardaway really hasn't even been able to touch the ball very much.
And when he has, it's normally just been a long three-point shot where he's not in rebounding position if it comes off the buck.
Jackson tried to lob to Blunt. Blunt forgot to jump. Here's Douglas now ahead of everybody. Smith for the basket.
That's the first time Memphis State's got that breakaway, uncontested bucket, and it's got everybody on their feet. Now Memphis State, they caught their second win. The crowd's into it, and they're on a roll.
Memphis State defense bothering Cincinnati right now also. Much as Cincinnati's bothered Memphis State earlier in this game. Terrific ball game as advertised. 10:15 remaining first half. Bearcats by 8. 20.
Your best bet is a Best Western.
Good look right now at Cincinnati's half-court trap. They'll trap in more than one area. Anthony Douglas very fortunate, and again for Memphis State, if he's the guy that's going to have to break the pressure on the dribble, Memphis State's going to have a hard time. He does this time, gets the basket to go, but the guards have got to do a better job selecting the areas on the floor where they put it in play. They're playing right into Cincinnati's hands, the areas where they're killing their dribble. You can't do that against Cincinnati.
Fans here, of course, very much on the side, needless to say, of the home team. Anthony Hardaway has been rather invisible so far today. He's only taken 3 shots, just made 1. He's got 3 points on the evening so far.
And Barry, that's where a point guard is so important. A point guard's responsibility, get everybody in sync, and you got to be the guy to get it to Hardaway.
Nelson behind the pick, missed the shot. Martin, the follow won't go. I think Blunt with the third try.
Cincinnati just doing a great job on the offensive glass. That's their 7th offensive rebound of the game. Again, killing the dribble. You got to attack this. Marcus Nolan's going to get in the game for Memphis. Another unforced turnover.
That's number 9. It's just past the halfway mark. Martin to the basket. Reverse won't go. Martin gets it back. Pulls up. Yes.
Again, amazing stat about Cincinnati. Coming in, they had scored 202 more field goals than their opposition. They do it by the law of averages, just numbers. They rely on that defense to turn it over for you. And then you're getting that many more attempts and that many more goals. You're going to win most of your games.
And Smith takes a shot that I'm sure Cincinnati would love to see him take every time down the floor. There's Hardaway. He misses. Hardaway can't get one to go. 1 of 4.
Well, Van Exel was wide open early, and again they beat Memphis State down the floor.
Great look by Van Exel. Had his back to Martin.
Well, there's no reason for that. That's the point guard's responsibility. You've got to be the one guy back. No other offensive player should be behind you when you get back in your defensive set.
As a reach in on Nelson. Nick Van Exel, nice player, no question about it. A lot of scouts around here the last couple of days looking at him. Saw Dennis Johnson, Jim Hadnot, old pal of mine from the Bay Area is here.
Look at that number right there. Cincinnati getting some high percentage shots in that paint. They've dominated the front court scoring.
Nice little pass that time by Hardaway to Douglas, but he missed the shot. Allen's there for the follow.
Look at Van Exel. Didn't kill his dribble. He got across the half court. Did not pick up the dribble, so he's still alive. You want to get it to the middle of the floor because you got more options. You go down the sideline, you kill your dribble. The sideline acts as an additional defender. Keep that dribble alive if you can once you break the timeline. The other thing Memphis has got to do a better job of is blocking out on the offensive boards. They got to keep Cincinnati away from getting second and third opportunities.
Did a nice job defensively that time, and credit Billy Smith. Hardaway just dribbled it off his knee and out of bounds, but he caught up with it. Smith in the corner. Going to get a foul underneath, and I think they are going to get... Is it Nolan under there? I can't tell.
Nolan's going to get the foul coming over the back.
So we'll take a timeout. 7:47 remaining, and the Bearcats clearly in control of this game. 26-14. We'll be back.
Virginia Tech and VCU in the Metro, and they're exchanging threes. Jay Purcell knocks down a three-pointer, then back the other way. They find Terrence Gibson. He does likewise with the three. This one right now, a 12-point contest. Back to you.
And this one also a 12-point contest, John. Cincinnati, though, really, you would think that it would be worse than that in terms of Memphis State's cause, because Cincinnati really has owned the game, John.
They've done a good job disrupting everything Memphis State wants to do offensively. Memphis State's had to basically use an ad-lib offense, and you see the results there. Tigers shooting only 33%, whereas Cincinnati, 9 more attempts at an excellent percentage, primarily because they're getting those shots in the paint area, getting transition uncontested baskets. And there's a guy that needs to be in greater presence at the offensive end if Memphis State's going to get back in it.
1 of 4 for him so far. Got a personal foul. He's got only 3 points. Turned the ball over twice and has only 1 assist. So that's not a line that Anthony Hardaway will be proud of.
Again, against this pressure, you got to have a point guard that can break the pressure and get you into your offense quickly.
There's a push away from the ball against Rodney Newsom. And Exel went down hard. And Van Exel, who...
Well, this is the second time we've seen this. Martin and Coles got hooked up early. A lot of emotion between these two teams. And a lot of frustration on the part of Memphis State. We talked earlier about the championships that were on the line. This is the 4th time in 2 years that a championship has been decided between these two teams, with Cincinnati owning the 3 previous opportunities, coming up with wins in each case.
The officials doing a nice job here, too, just trying to diffuse this. One official sort of took Newsom aside. The other official stepped in and was talking to Van Exel. And I mean just talking, not really berating him, but just saying, just cool it, just play the game.
It's a good move. Step in, don't let anything get out of hand. Now, this is where Memphis State's got to kick it down the floor, try to beat him back down. Cincinnati just does a great job of setting up. See, they're already set up. Even off the missed free throw, they're setting up their trap.
Transition defense just terrific for them. That's how they cleared a side out to Nolan and missed a shot. They're going to get a foul. I think over the top on Douglas. No, they're just going to say it's out of bounds.
And that's tough. That's one of the few uncontested shots we've seen that Memphis State has had an opportunity to make. They don't make it, and you just can't afford to miss those kind of opportunities.
Problem for Cincinnati to get it across the timeline, and it's an effort almost every time down for the Tigers. Bostic faces up.
Cincinnati with all the right answers right now. They're shooting 50%, 14 of 28 from the floor. On the road, that's excellent.
They're just beating him in every aspect of the game, I think, is even more important.
Taking it to him. Again, you look, everything Memphis State doing right now just to avoid the pressure. And this is good pressure. I'm not saying this is a fluke by any stretch. Cincinnati's done this on a regular basis to their opponents this year.
Yeah, that's why I really think this team has all the capabilities of being a Final Four team again. Hardaway picks up the loose ball, count the basket, he'll go to the line.
You know, a play like that where you come up with a loose ball, get a bucket, sometimes that's what gets you started. And Memphis State fortunate that time, and Hardaway comes up with the right answer. Kelvin Allen actually got fouled there, no call, and then stripped away, and Hardaway comes up with it. Corey Allen out of position. Hardaway gets a three-point opportunity. And you can see it in Hardaway. Even if he makes the basket, you can tell it's been that kind of night already for the All-American. Very frustrating team to have to play against Cincinnati. They just make you earn everything. They don't concede anything to you. No gimmies.
By the same token, Anthony Hardaway is one of those rare breeds who can take over a game and can turn it on instantly. He did that last night against St. Louis. And they got Van Exel for a travel that time, and Van Exel doesn't agree with that. And normally, if you roll over, it's a travel. If you stay the way you are, it's not a travel.
Well, he said that he had kept his dribble alive. How about Jackson State and Lindsey Hunter, one of the better players in the country?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of scouts. Talked to one scout, said he was the best player in the country. Now, that's not allowing for position, but says he is a cinch to be a big scorer in the NBA.
Important for Memphis State to try to get this game to about 6 or so before half.
There's two misses, and those were both pretty easy shots. Kick out to Van Exel, squares up for the three, missed that one too. That's a bad trip for Cincinnati.
Had some point-blank opportunities. I'm not so sure Memphis State didn't get away with some stuff inside, but they're due for a break. Everything has gone the other way. But if Memphis State could get this game to about 6 points by half, they're in shape.
Smith off the pass from Hardaway. I kind of think Larry Finch would have rather seen Hardaway make that shot. The basket ahead of everybody. Jackson fouled from behind that time.
Now that's just a hard foul on Newsom. No problem there. He was clearly going for the ball. Good hustle by Rodney Newsom. Jackson's going to try to go for the dunk. Newsom hustling. Goes for the ball. That's a good effort. It's the third time we've seen a hard foul, but that one, I think the freshman just went after him to try to stop the easy bucket. And if he doesn't, that's an easy two. Jackson, the only starter in all 27 games for the Bearcats this year. Bob Huggins used 10 different lineups, and Larry Finch, he had to juggle his lineup. David Vaughn, his premier inside player, going down in the first game of the season with a ACL tear. He'll be back next year, but no more basketball this year.
And even with those 10 lineups, Cincinnati 23-4, and you can really make a pretty good excuse for every one of those losses, too.
Both these teams, Cincinnati certainly in the NCAA tournament, and Memphis State should also be there. And Marquette with a great chance, I think, of getting in the tournament also. It depends what happens in some of the other conferences. They weren't expected to get certain teams winning the regular season or the postseason tournament.
Remember, just for the record, too, there is no automatic berth in the Great Midwest Conference.
Well, you can read Bob Huggins.
You can hear him. You don't have to read him.
He does a good job, though. Always very, very intense, and his team certainly personifies our coach.
And once again, they beat everybody back, and Van Exel finishes. So it just winds up being a trade-off, and we got a foul, again, a technical against Van Exel for hanging on the rim.
Now, that's a big play. You got to look at the whole sequence. Memphis State really had to work so hard at their end. They get the basket, then Van Exel gets the easy breakaway. That's called a snowbird or a sandbag on the blacktop. You don't get picked the next game if you do too much of that sandbagging. But at this level, that's a great release on the part of Van Exel. Let's take a look at it. Actually, the discussion afterwards is what he got the technical for. Newsom with a little... Newsom, that's the second time we've seen them go at it.
Now, you're right. I thought it was for hanging on the rim, and it was not. And you're right. That is the second time, and I think that's the reason. And remember the last time we mentioned it, one of the officials came over and just kind of talked to him, said, cool it. Well, he didn't cool it.
Well, taunting, which is what Van Exel got called for. It's a good job also by the official setting the tone. Now, the next time you see Memphis State player doing that, you're going to see a quick whistle the same fashion.
The official walked Van Exel over to the bench.
Well, you saw the trainer with the gloves on, the gloves, maybe some blood on Van Exel.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason. So it's unrelated to the other incident.
But in any case, Memphis State has a chance to cut the 9-point lead closer. Again, I think that 6-point mark important for the Tigers.
Newsom from way outside. That was not a good shot.
And look where Memphis State set up on the floor. Look how far out they're starting their offense. This is all in respect for the defense.
Billy Smith misses from outside. Hardaway got a hand on the rebound. It's controlled by Gibson. He loses it. Martin picks it up, and they finally get it ahead to Jackson, who's trapped. Jackson runs into a man on a block foul. Called on Newsom. How's that for a sequence?
Everybody on the floor. Great hustle by both clubs. Let's watch Newsom. Wasn't set yet. Good call by the official. Not a popular one in this building, but a good call. Both feet must be on the floor in a guarding position. That's 3 quick fouls on Rodney Newsom, and he's one of the offensive sparks that Memphis State likes to use off the bench. Again, Memphis State not with a deep bench.
Well, a reminder, championship week continues tomorrow. The Big 8 championship. Here's a who to thunk it category. Missouri and Kansas State play for the Big 8 title. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern. And there's more to come after that.
Well, that's a great example. If Missouri wins that, that's a team that wasn't going to get in the NCAA tournament, so you get another team from the Big 8. And LSU has played their way into the tournament with a big upset win today against top-seeded Vanderbilt.
And as Dick Vitale said, Dale Brown doesn't have to be phoning anybody this year. Well, the Bearcats continue to lead by 11, although they've been a little bit dead in the water. Here's the Bearcat trap again. Bearcats are waiting for the Tigers right now, and Hardaway knocks down a 3.
That's a basket that Anthony Hardaway desperately needed to make. He's now in double figures with 10.
Yeah, don't you get the idea that Cincinnati is just kind of waiting?
This is very similar to last night's game against DePaul. They had a huge lead at the half and then really struggled in the second half. DePaul with a great comeback.
Van Exel is short. The ball goes off the hands of Douglas out of bounds to Cincinnati. Memphis State can't catch a break right now, and still they only trail by 8. It's 33-25, 3:36 remaining first half, and we'll be back.
What's his face?
Texas Tech and TCU in the Southwest Conference. Jason Sasser knocking down a 3 wide open. 54-39. Texas Tech has the lead. Virginia Tech and VCU, a 10-point contest. Let's get back to Barry and John.
All right, thank you, John. And right here, Memphis State starting to creep into things a little bit. Remember, this game was ugly the last time they played.
38-23 a week ago at the half in Cincinnati. Memphis State never able to get back in that game. But Anthony Hardaway has been a big part why Memphis State has gotten this thing in single digits. Memphis State trailing by 8. You see what they've done the last 2:43. Hardaway, the main ingredient in that run.
That kind of started with his steal that came at 6:19. He took it to the basket, made the basket, was fouled, went to the line, converted the three-point play. And since that time, Cincinnati is obliged by missing a lot of shots as well on their offensive end.
Well, again, in the semifinals against DePaul, they had a big halftime lead against Joey Meyer's club. And the Blue Demons, a game effort in the second half, put a scare into the Bearcats.
Gonna get a foul this time on Billy Smith, I believe.
Cincinnati in the double bonus.
Jackson can't get it to go. Gotta get a second shot. Remember, there's a double bonus here. Good exercise, though.
Well, that's a lonely feeling if you're Anthony Douglas and somehow you've gotten the signals crossed up. You're standing there and Terry Nelson's already beat you around the corner. But Douglas, of course, with the correct understanding, we were shooting 2 free throws beyond 10 team fouls.
And he hit all sides of it, but went down, and it's a 9-point lead now. 34-25, 3:22 remaining. Hardaway walks it across the timeline. And another turnover. Isn't that funny that every time the Tigers seem to be able to get in sync, they turn the ball over?
That's tough, again, when you just have so many fewer opportunities to score than Cincinnati. The law of averages is going to win out.
Van Exel, the opportunity, won't go. Van Exel having some shooting wars now, too, and the rebound down to the hands of Mitchell.
Got to get it down court now. Got to take advantage of it once you get the rebound. Because as soon as Cincinnati is able to, they will get back in that trap, which has really been a big part of the story while they've been up this entire game.
They get it down low to Douglas. Douglas over Grieger won't go. And the follow is up and good nicely by who else? Hardaway.
Well, Hardaway stepping up. He's got 12 points in this game. He's been a factor, and he's keeping Memphis State in the game.
It's going to be Cincinnati's ball. One of the players from St. Louis last night after the game was talking about Hardaway, and he said simply, this guy can score whenever he wants against us. At this level, it's no problem at all. Yeah, it was Highmark, a very fine player himself, incidentally, from St. Louis, who said no problem. Anytime he wants to score, he can. And you know, I believe that.
I'll tell you, talking about St. Louis, Charlie Spoonhour has got a very good St. Louis club on the horizon. They will be heard from in this conference. Made a statement this year, upsetting Marquette in the first round, and put a spear into Memphis State till late in that ball game last night.
Followed by Grieger off the miss by Gibson is good for Cincinnati.
2 minutes crucial now going into the half. Memphis State's got to keep it in single digits.
Very close and over back there. Actually, Hardaway had his foot on the line. Smith couldn't get it on the baseline.
Rushed it. Didn't have to force that shot as quickly as he thought he did. And again, Memphis State with another seemingly uncontested shot, or as uncontested as they get in this game, not converting. Memphis State's going to go to a 2-3 zone. The danger in this is you can become passive playing defense when you're a dominated man-to-man type style ordinarily.
Douglas that time just stepped right in front of Nelson. Nice defensive effort from him. A reminder that at halftime, the Reebok Report, John Saunders, Dick Vitale will have all the upsets, and there were a bunch of them in tournaments today. Derek Phelps injured. They'll tell you exactly how seriously. That could be a real blow if he's not available to North Carolina. Hardaway for three, won't go too hard. Gibson the rebound. Wide open basket, hanging Van Exel. Forget it. How many times has he done that?
Well, every time there's a long perimeter shot by Memphis State, Van Exel's release. That's the third time we've seen that release move. Memphis State still not picking up on it. That's the point guard's responsibility. If the point guard penetrates, then the next guy rotating back, you must get back. Cincinnati's got it back to an 11-point lead.
And attacking the ball defensively again. 39 seconds on the game clock. There's about a 12-second differential, actually. Actually, a bit less than that. A bit more than that. My math is never very good, John. I was an English major. Turnaround jump. Baseline is good by Allen.
I didn't like math or science either, so I sympathize with you. Not sure what I did like, but I knew it wasn't math or science.
No move.
Oh, nice move, give and go that time by the Bearcats.
Martin hammered going to the basket by Mitchell. Hard foul, and there have been a lot of them.
But again, I think the story in the first half offensively is where Cincinnati shots are coming from. They're all point-blank range, coming right at Memphis State, high percentage shots. Mitchell having to foul Martin to stop it. Whereas at the other end, Memphis State is really struggling to get every opportunity they can. And over the course of 40 minutes, that's going to be a problem.
Eric Martin with an impressive line so far. He's got 14 points in the game, 5 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive end. That takes a seat for Larry Finch.
If there is one area for Cincinnati that they don't do as well as you'd like to see a club like this, is shooting free throws. They have struggled somewhat at the line.
Missed them both.
Now you got to get it down and take advantage.
Hardaway ahead to Newsom, pulls up to 3, too hard. And here's Van Exel now, has to hurry, fires it up from midcourt. Not a bad shot, actually, for Van Exel as the first half comes to an end. And the good news for the Tigers is they do have it within 10. It's 38-29, Cincinnati over Memphis State. Let's take you back to the studio now, and Johnson.
ESPN's Championship Week is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealers. Have you you driven a Ford lately? And by Best Western. 3,400 locations worldwide.
And I'm Barry Tompkins along with John Albright. We are at halftime where Cincinnati leads Memphis State by 9. It's a 38-29 ball game. And John, it's interesting. We started this ball game by talking about the fact that Anthony Hardaway was going to get his and Nick Van Exel was going to get his. And sure enough, they have. But what about the other guys? And really, the other guy who has stepped up is Eric Martin.
He has. He's got 12 points. But I think a big thing for Cincinnati is where have the shots come from? They've had relatively easy shots. Therefore, they've got a higher percentage. Memphis State has really had to struggle for their opportunities. It could have been very ugly if Cincinnati would have hit the free throws. The other area rebounding, dominated by the Bearcats in the first 20 minutes.
And Cincinnati, since its early start, really has kind of sat back and waited for Memphis State. And Memphis State is not obliged. Anthony Hardaway, we've talked about the fact he is a guy who could take over a ball game, and I think if there was ever a time that he needed to do so, it would be now.
Right now. And if you want to look for a positive for Memphis State, a week ago in the loss at Cincinnati, they were down 38-23. This week they've improved that by 6. They're only down 38-29. They're playing at home, and I really think Cincinnati could have applied the knockout punch in the first 20 minutes. They didn't do so. First 4 or 5 minutes crucial here for both teams, particularly for Memphis State to get back in it.
And Hardaway hit the side of the backboard. Didn't even hit the basket with that one. There's been some pretty woeful free throw shooting in this game. It's one of the things, frankly, keeping Memphis State in the game, as the Bearcats shooting only 4 of 13 at the free throw line, and that is not going to get it done. Texas Tech wins Southwest Conference.
That's tough. Memphis State can't afford to miss 2 free throws. It's unusual for Hardaway. Good free throw shooter ordinarily, 78% on the year.
Corey Blunt forgot to turn around and get the ball. Van Exel saves it, but Billy Smith recovered. Hardaway for 3. Blunt with a rebound. Hardaway knocks it out of his hands, gets it back nicely to Allen.
Memphis State more aggressive early on. They've come out of the locker room a little more aggressive, looking to take it at the Bearcats. Count already on. Memphis State getting their full court pressure.
They got to hurry here.
10-second shot.
Yeah, they got 2 seconds left. Got to hurry. Got it across just in time. Jackson with a cutter. Martin along the baseline. Terrific play by Eric Martin.
They took every bit of the 10 seconds needed to get by, but again, look where the shot opportunity comes from. Martin on the baseline. We've seen him use the rim as a shield more than once. Good job by Jackson. Memphis State gambling. Again, Martin goes up, shields himself using the rim, and picks up the foul and the three-point opportunity. But again, that's a great example of attacking pressure once you beat it. You beat that pressure, go ahead and look to score. You see what Martin did last night against DePaul. He had 12 points in the first half, so he's already bettered that number, 14. They get 15 now.
He's a co-junior college most valuable player. And the man who he was co-with was none other than Corey Blunt. It's a miss from outside by Coles. Jackson gets it back. Here come the Bearcats. Van Exel, great first move. First step, I should say. And now they're going to
No need to kill your dribble right there. Keep it alive. And again, here's that pressure.
Allen, little follow-up. Nice pass by Douglas that time. No-look pass by him.
And Cincinnati just relentless. They don't give you any time to rest.
Van Exel can't get it to fall, but they are going to get Coles, I believe, for the foul. Coles, of course, the brother of Bimbo Coles, now playing for the Miami Heat in the NBA.
He and Wally Lancaster teaming up Virginia Tech, reining in the threes during their career. That's true.
Van Exel at the line, gets it down.
A lot of experience in this game for both clubs. Cincinnati, they start an all-senior lineup, 6 seniors on the Cincinnati squad. Memphis State, they're also an experienced club. They start 3 seniors. Both these teams meeting championship Midwest Regional last year.
And before you start bemoaning the fact that Cincinnati is going to lose its star players, we should point out that they had the second best recruiting class in America.
That's right. Don't feel sorry at all for the Bearcats because they are ready to go at it again next year.
Antonio Winfield, outstanding freshman, incoming freshman, will be an incoming freshman. Billy Smith pulls up for the jumper. One of the most recruited players in America, Darnell Burton, a 6'4" guard from Lexington, Kentucky. Jackson Juleson, 6'9" from Grayson, Kentucky. I feel like Dickie V here. There's Jackson pull up.
Again, look where the shots are coming from. Just very high percentage shots for the Bearcats. They utilize a 2-1-2 half-court press, but they'll mirror. If a guy goes in the middle, they'll mirror. If he stays on the side, they'll just float around. So it changes configuration depending on what the offense throws at you.
Jackson gives it up nicely to Martin, and Martin can't get it to roll, but he will go to the free throw line. Jackson had his choice that time with 3 players.
Martin has been the recipient on numerous occasions down there on that baseline. And again, he's going to get the pass from Jackson this time. Again, on the baseline. Going to use the left hand this time. Kelvin Allen, no way to block that shot. And Martin's going to get another chance to go to the free throw line.
Horn coming into the ball game now for Memphis State. Terrell Horn played very briefly in the first half. Newsom also in the game, and Newsom should remind you playing with 3 personal fouls. Here's a look at Bob Huggins, in my opinion, one of the best in America.
His team 52-9 over the last 2 years. Interesting, Cincinnati played for the Metro Championship Tournament title the first 2 years and won it, 76 and 77. They have a chance to do the same thing here the first 2 years out of the gate in the Great Midwest Conference. They won it last year over Memphis State. Chance to duplicate that this year.
Douglas, tough shot, won't go. Underneath, that's Horn with the follow. They say no basket. And they're going to get the foul on Martin before the putback.
Well, no complaint that time by Martin, and we'll take it out of bounds. This tournament has been close throughout. Every game up to this one has been decided in the last couple of minutes. DePaul and UAB in the first round went down to the last second. St. Louis pulled the shocker over Marquette, and then last night's semifinals both were decided late.
Hardaway put it on the floor, took it to the basket, drew the foul. He'll go to the free throw line. Hardaway had a very similar game to what he's having tonight last night against St. Louis. He had 10 points at the half. Second half just exploded, and even though Memphis State never really put the game away, it was Hardaway who clearly was the catalyst.
And he's going to try to do the same thing here against Cincinnati. And Cincinnati struggled in the second half. Corey Blunt didn't play a lot of minutes last night for Bob Huggins, but he's a trump card. He gives them an added dimension inside that makes them very, very difficult.
You know, just to elaborate on some of the things you were talking about a little bit earlier, this conference is going to be tough, top to bottom, despite the fact that they are going to lose some pretty good graduating seniors and very likely the man at the free throw line also, despite the fact that he has a year of eligibility left. But I'll tell you, having seen St. Louis last night, they are a player or two away from really being something special in this conference. They play everybody hard. Charlie Spoonhour, one of the great coaches, is going to win at some point, just like this man. Memphis State, of course, will get David Vaughn back next year, who was a big-time player last year. We already told you not to cry for Cincinnati. They're going to be pretty good. Marquette has a good number of players back off a very good team this year that still may make it into the big dance. DePaul is also a very young team. Top to bottom is going to be a very tough conference.
Very competitive. Should get 5 of 6 teams in postseason play this year.
There's the trap by Memphis State. They get it back to Nelson. Cincinnati handled it pretty well.
Memphis State's going to go to a zone now. Got to do a better job on the board. That's been that kind of night. Everything coming up right for the Bearcats. Paul goes straight up and through.
There's the trap on Hardaway. They get it to Douglas. Douglas pull up. That's a shot he will not miss off, and the follow is no good by Horn, rather by Newsom, and he'll be out of bounds to Memphis State, so they'll have a third chance. Billy Smith has been very quiet in this game. Let's do some way outside. Missed the shot. Martin cleared it. Got it ahead. 2-on-1. Jackson to the basket. The trailer, Van Exel.
Cincinnati, just excellent decisions in the open court. Waited till Newsom committed, and then an easy bucket for Van Exel.
Now it is a 13-point Cincinnati lead. Smith misses short that time. Hardaway the reverse with the left hand. What a shot!
I don't know how he came up with the rebound, first of all, and then to get that shot in traffic. Wow. See the fast break. That's, again, 12-0 for uncontested opportunities for the Bearcats.
Smith with the quick hands to knock that out of bounds. We'll take a timeout. 15-19 remaining in the ball game. Bearcats continue to lead it by 11, but Memphis State continues to hang around.
Ford makes it easy to buy a new...
Hey, VCU marches on, 85-71. Sonny Smith keeps rolling, baby. Let's go back to you, Barry Tompkins.
All right, thanks, Dick. If he could only get excited about this. 52-41, Cincinnati over Memphis State.
Well, talking about excitement, we're going to see it two ways from Anthony Hardaway. Against the pressure, watch what he does after he gives up the ball. He becomes a spectator. Memphis State cannot afford for Anthony Hardaway to become a spectator. Now, when he gets some excitement, let's watch him inside. Hardaway coming through, crashing, getting the board. And then in traffic with the left hand. He's got 15 of the night.
So while the Bearcats seem to be doing everything right, they just can't seem to shake a stubborn Memphis State team who's still there, 11 points down. 2-on-1 right now. They got the numbers. Mitchell to Smith.
That's the easiest basket we've seen Memphis State make in the second half.
Gets them to 9, brings the crowd back in it again. But every time they've gotten in here, Cincinnati has managed to get a 4 or 5 point run and sort of put a little distance between themselves again.
That's where experience comes into play. When you play in the NCAA tournament, you get to the Final Four, you come back with a lot of experience. You don't get rattled wherever you play.
It's Memphis State's zone. It's a matchup. Nelson rejected that time and run down nicely by Horn, but he ran it down out of bounds.
6'9" junior Gerald Horn with what he hopes will be a message.
Cincinnati has not missed a shot in the second half, which is interesting, and their lead has been cut.
Can't make up much ground if nobody's missing.
5.5 minutes into the second half, too. That's Martin. They still haven't missed.
That becomes demoralizing. The team just doesn't miss, doesn't leave any openings in the armor.
Billy Smith is the guy that when he scores, Memphis State does well. He hasn't scored much tonight. He gave it up nicely that time, though, to Horn, who got the roll. Horn's given Larry Finch some good minutes here.
Tigers have played more aggressively, looking at the basket, more importantly, attacking the bucket here in the second half.
Van Exel spotted up for the 3, didn't take it, drew the foul. They're going to get Hardaway, I think.
Beautiful hesitation move that time by Van Exel. Hardaway thought he was going to bring it out, and then immediately he reverse pivots and picks up the foul.
Now here's the first-team all-conference team in the Great Midwest, Anthony Hardaway. There's a big surprise. Erwin Claggett, I got to say, I didn't see him play until last night. He's going to be something special for St. Louis. Might want to remember that name.
Only a sophomore. He and Tom Kleinschmidt from DePaul, both 2 more years ahead of him.
And Ron Curry, a guy who I remember starting at Arizona, actually, wouldn't get many minutes for Lute Olson, transferred to Marquette. How's that for execution? The lob to Bostic.
Cincinnati really doing a good job with their decisions. They just don't make very many poor ones.
And they still haven't missed in the second half.
You see all the NBA action postponed due to snow. Well, we haven't had any here in Memphis, one of the few areas that hadn't been hit.
You told me it was going to be warm, though. You lied. Hardaway with a basket.
You California guys, a slight variation in temperature and you overreact. Of course, it is going to be 15 here tonight, so. Tigers 2-3 zone.
Bostic drew. Crowd still got it down.
The zone is too spread out that time, too porous, too many areas and angles to get to, and Bostic that time exploited one of them.
And this is going to go. That should be a tee, but I don't think the official saw it. You throw the ball at a player should be an automatic tee, and that's what Horn did.
Well, I'll tell you also what happened is Horn offered to pick Bostic up, offered to give him the arm to pick him up. It didn't happen. You see with the Bearcats, very stingy. Among the top 5 in the nation in points allowed, and you see with the opponents shoot only 40%. But look at the scoring margin, averaging almost 17 points more than their opposition. Good reason why they've only lost 4 games all year.
One of those losses was to Indiana. It was a game that I did, and of course they didn't have Blunt, they didn't have Nelson, and Van Exel was just coming back off arthroscopic surgery. I'd call that a forgivable loss at Bloomington.
Few people have gone in there with the same results.
Yeah, more than a few even.
Billy Smith's got to continue to look to score, even though he struggles from the field. He's got to keep looking.
Reach-in foul on Jackson. Jackson said, I got all ball. Well, a reminder, Top-Ranked Boxing tomorrow night in Las Vegas. It'll be Roger Mayweather and Livingstone Bramble, a couple of old chestnuts. They're junior welterweights, going 10 rounds. That's tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific. Top-Ranked Boxing in Vegas, providing, of course, I can get out of Memphis. Douglas off-balance shot with the right hand, wouldn't go. Nice save that time. Gregor, however, controls it for the Bearcats. Talk about the incoming class of freshmen for Cincinnati. Gregor just a freshman about whom they expect big things.
He's got a great body, very physically mature for a freshman.
There's a great play by Mitchell. Race to the basket, nobody near him. Very good individual effort. And they got it down to 8, and that is as close as they have been in a long, long time.
The crowd right on cue is going to respond to that margin. But now they got to pick it up in the defensive end. They must be more consistent at this end of the court now, because every time Cincinnati's needed the basket, they've gotten a high percentage shot, found a way to get in there in that paint area, and they've come through when they needed to.
It is interesting. Cincinnati 8 of 9 shooting from the floor, from the field in the second half. Martin, a good percentage shot.
Look where the shot comes from again. Again, a seam in the zone, and they exploit it, an easy bucket again.
Starting to say now they're 9 of 10 in the second half, and still the Tigers have cut 1 point off the halftime lead. There's a nice look inside, and the foul called against Martin on Horn. Horn has really been a factor in the game. Going to get Gregor rather than Martin. Nelson replaces Gregor. So Horn will go to the line, and really they've kind of caught fire since he's come on.
He's done a good job giving them a jump start off the bench. Had the big block earlier in the half, little message he hoped was sent to the Bearcats.
An 8-point game with 11 minutes, 16 seconds remaining to be played. Time not a factor at all. Bearcats lead it as they have the whole way, but only by 8. We'll be back.
Back to the Great Midwest Championship game in just a moment. Cincinnati leading Memphis State. But first, Dick Vitale joins me here, and let's talk a little bit about this contest. No automatic bid going from this tournament, but Cincinnati, we know, is in, and Memphis State as well.
Well, Marquette really is a team that's struggling right now. Marquette's got to be a nervous wreck wondering about whether they're getting in or not.
All right, we will get back out to the game. Right now on Championship Week, we return to the Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee for the Great Midwest Championship game.
All right, thanks, John and Dick. 60-52 ball game. You want to get that, John? It might be for you. 8-point lead. Cincinnati over Memphis State. Memphis State, as we've said earlier, just kind of hanging around. I've seen it so many times this season where a team will do that. All of a sudden they lead. They have not, incidentally, led in this ball game the entire way.
Again, that zone's got to do a better job of picking up the open people.
And Van Exel, who's having a lot of shooting problems since about the first 3 or 4 minutes of this game, missed that one.
About time for Billy Smith to come through with some offense.
Off balance shot off the glass and in, as advertised.
Well, he's too important to Memphis State's offensive hopes to be silent, and that's going to get the crowd back in it. This is as close as Memphis State has been in a long, long time, since early in the first half.
Martin missed the shot going to the basket. It was there for him, and he missed it. He follows it. It still won't go. Battle for the rebound. Martin gets it back. Third try rejected by Horn. Foul called underneath against Hardaway. Going to be his third. Pretty good effort by Martin, though.
Cincinnati doing a good job staying aggressive on the boards. How they missed it. Everything but going in that time. Bostic or actually Nelson and Martin canceled each other out, and Hardaway on the deck picked up the foul.
I'm not quite sure how. Jackson takes a seat for Cincinnati.
Good free throw shooting a problem. The Bearcats struggle in the first half. Only 4 of 13 for Cincinnati from the line in the first half.
And Martin only 2 of 7. They're 8 of 19 now for the game. And that one wasn't very pretty either. And Hardaway gets the rebound. So the Tigers now with a chance to cut it more. Smith open for 3. Martin clears. Outlet Gibson.
That shot disappeared below the rim before finding a way to roll out.
That's a shot he's not going to miss very much. Really had a good look. Foul from behind. And they got Horn, I believe.
ACC, unusual tournament there. North Carolina, the top seed, going to get there. And this SEC, LSU with a surprise over Vanderbilt. And Kentucky had a big lead early in that game. Arkansas came back really close.
They're going to foul this time on Douglas. On Blunt going to the basket. Incidentally, Blunt has been no factor at all in this ball game for any part of the second half. Is it Mitchell that they got? Going to give it to Mitchell.
That takes away a big dimension for them at 6'10". He's really the only size. They got 6'6" clones all over the floor. They got 5 or 6 guys 6'6". Very quick, very strong, very good components of that against Memphis State. A big year against the Tigers.
Today he's got 5 rebounds, 8 points, 3 personal fouls, and he's turned it over 3 times.
Good free throw shooting. That's the 3rd straight miss by the Bearcats.
38% for the game. That's just awful.
It's not going to get it done. Particularly when you get into NCAA tournament play, you must make the free throw.
Free throw shooting all around the country is down this year, but 38% is a little bit ridiculous.
Although this conference, the Great Midwest, has been among the nation's leaders all year long. Look at the press. They've turned it up now.
They got a foul out here before the Hardaway shot. It's going to go against Nelson.
Watch the press. Memphis State almost over and back right there. Actually was.
Yes.
Memphis State getting away with that one. Mitchell had gone both feet into the front court and dribbled in the back court. Very fortunate. And that'll be the 17th foul on Cincinnati, so Memphis State will be in the 1-and-1. Both teams in the 1-and-1 from here forward.
So Billy Smith at the free throw line. A very quiet 10 points for Billy Smith.
He's a streaky player. He's one of those guys that he hits one, he's able to hit 5 or 6 or 7 in a row. By the same token, he can miss the next 8 that he takes.
And he takes a lot of those kinds of shots where you just say, oh, no, nice shot.
And he was the reason in that February 6th game that Memphis State was able to break the jinx. They had lost 4 straight last year to Cincinnati, and that was broke the string.
1 out of 2 for Smith, 6-point game, 61-55, 9:32 remaining. This game could come down to a case of attrition, too. Remember, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that both teams had tough games last night. And Memphis State played the second game, remember, so it's been a little shorter turnaround for them.
Tigers still in the 2-3 zone, but they'll extend it out.
Well, Blunt stepped in. Man left him. He stepped in, missed the shot, and ran the rebound down low. There's Van Exel open. Took the higher percentage shot and forced a foul.
Memphis State's 2-3 zone is extending out. It's a matchup, but they're extending so far out that you can dribble and get into the interior, which ideally a zone is designed not to allow that dribble penetration. But because Memphis State, the top two guys are extending so far out, you can come right in. Let's take a look at it. Watch the extension, and then you see Van Exel just going right through it, picking up the foul that time on Douglas. But on the matchup, if you go too far out beyond what is considered shooting range, then you're going to open up areas where you can get to that paint area, and then you're going to have high percentage shots or mismatches.
Newsom and Allen back into the ball game. Scores out of the Big East. The Hall playing better at the end of the year now. Syracuse a winner over St. John's. There's an upset. Kansas going the other way at the end of the year.
They have struggled. In K-State, big win for the Wildcats. Bob Huggins, Cincinnati people feel if they can win this game, they could be a 2 or a 3 seed in the tournament.
Somebody forgot about Corey Blunt. Didn't block him out that time, and it cost Memphis State. And it's back to a 9-point game.
Again, this is similar to what we saw in the first half. Everything offensively just designed to avoid. That's goaltending. Good move by Hardaway.
No question about it. It also speaks to what we were talking about before, that Hardaway could score almost at will.
Memphis State is most effective when Hardaway is able to penetrate. 3 or 4 Bearcats had a look at him, and Blunt clearly with a goaltend that time.
There's the Memphis State trap.
Again, look at the 2-3 zone. Mitchell and Newsom up top. If they extend too far out, then you can flash a guy to the free throw line, or you can get the dribble penetration against that zone wall.
Step cut off the baseline nicely by Allen. Van Exel right around Newsom to the basket. Double clutched it, got it to Blunt. 4 seconds on the shot clock. Gotta hurry. And they're not going to get a shot. They don't. It's intercepted. They got the numbers 2-on-1. Hardaway to the basket. Forget it.
Transition. Memphis State wants to get in more transition. Got it down to 5 now.
And Hardaway with 22.
Well, he's answered the critics in this series almost over and back there.
Yeah, Gibson had his heel on the line. Stepping in front again. This time was Horn. 2-on-2. Pull up Mitchell. Short. Expected the contact. Didn't get it. And now they get Bostic on a reach in.
Well, Memphis State starting to get some breaks in the second half. As you mentioned, Leon Mitchell anticipating Bob Huggins' defense to do something different than they did. Good job right there by Gerald Horn. He's immediately in transition, and Huggins gets a technical.
And he is beside himself. What he did was he hit the desk that he was standing in front of him, and he's saying, what has that got to do with anything? He's incredulous.
Well, last night in the DePaul game, Cincinnati was hit with 2 technicals. Bob Huggins got one of them, and DePaul hit a 3-point play, a 3-point shot. It was a 7-point possession. It cut a 10-point lead down to 3. It was a big part of DePaul getting back in the game last night.
And this one comes at a very crucial time, and Huggins is still irate.
Memphis State could actually take the lead out of this possession. If Horn hits both free throws, they hit the technical, and then hit a bucket, they could take the lead.
Hey! 1 out of 2 for Horn on the technical. They'll still have the ball, of course.
The other part about the technicals last night in the second half, Cincinnati struggled. They were sleepwalking to an extent. It brought Cincinnati closer together when the lead got to 3. They refocused and came back much more intensity.
So Hardaway gets both of his, and they will still have the basketball when we come back. 7:14 remaining. Memphis State as close as it's been all night. Well, they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery, right? I think it started here, more than a few years ago. Saves a lot in architectural fees, though, doesn't it?
Certainly does. What about 64, 65 million worth?
I'd say about that. Terrific facility here, the Pyramid. I know this is your home and you spend a lot of time here, and I'm just a little interloper here once every couple of years. And boy, what a terrific place for college basketball.
Fantastic showcase for the city of Memphis. And you see Memphis State, the hometown team, pitching a shutout in the last minute 22 to get right back in the thick of this.
Anthony Hardaway has been the man.
Any critics about his performance against Cincinnati the last 2 years? He's answered that right tonight with a big game at home. What may be his last appearance in the Pyramid.
Good point. Missed. Horn fights for the rebound. It's going to be out of bounds to Cincinnati.
Horn doesn't come up with it. That's a great individual effort by Larry Finch's 6'9" junior. Look at the second half. What a story. Memphis State struggled early, particularly the first 8-9 minutes of the game. Second half, only one turnover. That is a big reason, the main ingredient why they're right back in this game.
And the other thing, too, is the man with the ball has not done a great deal in the second half. He's gotten into barking at people and he's really maybe forgotten to play a little bit. He's had 12 points at halftime. He's got 16 now. And really, he has not been any kind of a focal point for the Cincinnati team in the second half. It's been Eric Martin that's really been carrying it.
The other thing is sometimes the zone, it will influence the offensive approach, make you sleepwalk a little bit. And I don't think Cincinnati's been as intense about attacking it as they were in the man-to-man.
Another guy who's had a nice game, Jackson. Trying to get it down low. 3 players on the floor. Jump ball call. Arrow points to Cincinnati. Douglas will come back into the game. Billy Smith will come back into the game. Horn leaves to a nice round of applause, and it's well-deserved.
He did a good job. He provided a spark.
Newsom also out.
The Wolverines winning. A lot of people expecting them to win it all in the NCAA tournament.
Certainly will be a number 1 seed. Cincinnati is hoping for a number 2 seed, what with all those surprises and all the upsets going on today.
Cincinnati people really feel that they got a strong case to get the 2 seed if they can win here.
One turnaround, quick. Corey Blunt starting to make his presence felt. He's got 13, but he too has disappeared in the second half. Shot is up and good for 2 by Hardaway.
Hardaway that time able to split the double team, and when he's penetrating, that's when he's extremely dangerous because he can do so many different things when he gets in that triple threat area.
He's just a wonderful player, Anthony Hardaway.
He's equally as good a kid also.
Yes, he is. Teammates call him Penny. And Larry Finch all year long has been harping, shoot the ball, shoot the ball, shoot the ball.
Well, Hardaway, one of the few guys, the exchange rate will be favorable. Penny on whatever.
That's right, very.
Memphis State needs to get over the hump now. They've been close a couple of times. They want to go ahead and hit the basket, get the momentum going.
Billy Smith for 3 missed. Martin clears. Van Exel now. 3-on-2 if they push it, but they don't. Van Exel now. Penetration, pull up, double clutch, left hand. Wasn't a good shot. And Hardaway gets it. And now here's Smith. 2-on-2. Smith waits for help. Hardaway to Smith in the corner. Leaner by Smith off the glass. Too hard. He'll go to the line.
Almost got that one to drop. You sense a little frustration on the part of the Bearcats.
They're the ones that seem out of sync now. And earlier in the game, especially in the middle of the first half, it was Memphis State that seemed out of sync.
Well, Barry, I give Memphis State a lot of credit for not blowing their cool, not blowing their composure. It's been very easy to have been so down with the way the first 5-6 minutes of this game started out. They could have given up, and that's where playing on your home court with the fans, and that's a tremendous comfort level. But they did not panic, kept their composure, and now they got a chance with 4:28 to pull this out and give the Tigers their first great Midwest Tournament championship.
Smith with a chance to tie. They have never led in this basketball game. They're tied at 66.
Now we get a little fan involvement in this building.
Martin found a little late into the basket, but kicked it out for Jackson.
Now, Cincinnati, they got to jumpstart that offense now. They've been very passive here the last couple of minutes. Got to look to score.
Martin stepped in, scored, and drew the foul. Couldn't have done it any better.
And there's the man that's come up with the big ones. Again, getting in that paint area against the zone.
Martin, a 12-point average on the season, has 22 tonight.
Look at Martin just standing. Again, when you extend out, you're going to have that free throw line option open, and Martin does a smart thing. Once he gets it, he goes right to the bucket. But you got to be a little careful about extending those top two guys so far out.
I thought it was interesting, too, defensively. They brought Douglas out on Van Exel, and that opened up the middle a little bit. So Cincinnati back in front by 3 now. Way outside for 3 is Smith off the left side. And we're going to foul against. They're either going to get Douglas or Allen. I think it's Allen.
Billy Smith, that time a little beyond the range you like to see him shoot. That's NBA plus there. And Allen using that off arm to try to get an advantage. He picks up the foul.
That falls into the category of for Billy Smith. Is that a category? I don't know.
We'll make it one.
He's 5 of 16, and Hardaway really was looking for the ball when it was over. Nelson, the stand-up comic. This is the first shot. I mean that seriously. He does stand-up comedy in Los Angeles when he's not in school. He had a little problem with a heart palpitation earlier this year, causing him to miss a game. And those are 2 comedic-looking free throws.
But there's nothing funny about the way Cincinnati shot the ball tonight.
Boy, Hardaway took one right in the face that time. Jackson says, I'm sorry. Well, a reminder that coming up next, the WAC Championship. You and I have spent a little time in a WAC this year.
What an unusual finale there. It's BYU and Utah. Everyone expected them in the finals. They go down. It'll be UTEP and New Mexico. And UTEP's a team that could crash the NCAA tournament. They would not have if they didn't win the championship.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at 4 possible teams in the tournament out of the WAC conference.
Dave Bliss and the Lobos, they had the last week where they had to face BYU and Utah at home, won both those games. Now they get to the championship game. They've earned their way into the tournament.
3:41 remaining in this one. Bearcats continue to cling, and that's the operable word to a 1-point lead.
Tom Penders, he was counting, I know, on having B.J. Tyler, and now Tyler is down.
Meanwhile, we got a ball game here, John.
Tigers have done it by getting on the offensive train in the second half. In the last 6 games, they have not gotten into the 70s against Cincinnati, and Larry Fitz's club has already got 68 in this one. They had been averaging 61 points per game against Cincinnati the last 6 outings, but the second half, the offense has gotten cranked up.
Well, Cincinnati is going to have to get its offense cranked up because they have just not been very much in sync for a good portion of the second half. They've been making a high percentage of shots, but most of the shots have been down low, and they just don't seem to have the good ball movement that they had. The defense has really not been much of a factor in the second half.
Well, the zone has been the key for Memphis State, getting them back in the game.
And Van Exel has been no factor. And we should point out he's been no factor since about the time he got the tee called on him. Blunt down low for Martin. Nice look that time. Rather, Nelson low for Martin. And it was a very good look by Nelson.
Cincinnati with good patience that time. Waited until they got the right opportunity, then cashed in quickly. See, I think when you operate against this trap, it's like a football player going east-west. You got to go north-south. Once you get the opportunity, go ahead and go to the goal. Quit trying to go laterally. That just gives them another opportunity to reset that trap. Tar Heels keep on rolling in the ACC tournament.
It was close for a while.
Until the power outage
yes.
in Charlotte. That slowed the Cavaliers and the Tar Heels down for some time.
Smith, short again. Smith's having a very tough shooting night, but keep shooting. And they're going to get Hardaway for his 4th personal foul, and that can really be a factor. Now what do you do? I would think you got to keep him out there.
Well, with 2:36, no choice but to keep him on the floor. And if you're Cincinnati, you got to go right at him. He's crippled right now with 4 fouls. Take him right at him if you can. Memphis State will probably try to bury him somewhere in that zone, try to protect him a little bit. But even more importantly, it's at the offensive end that they've got to have Hardaway capable to finish out the last couple of minutes of this game. Free throw shooting now will be a major factor in who wins this ball game.
Reminder, of course, coming up next, UTEP and New Mexico. That's the 4th time that they've played this year.
Well, give UTEP some credit. They upended Utah the last game of the regular season to keep things on track for the WAC. And see Memphis State never having led in the game, but Hardaway certainly has come to play.
And Martin really the factor for Cincinnati to keep themselves in the lead.
They talk about the WAC. That's again one of those conferences that's going to have 2, then arguably 3 with New Mexico, the last 2 wins they had, and now UTEP. They possibly could get 4 in, or BYU may be on the bubble.
A lot of those bubble teams are not going to get in now because of all the upsets. Here's Hardaway for 3. They'll get a second chance. Allen chased it down. Allen down low for the basket. Counted. He goes to the line. Big hoop.
You get a look at David Vaughn in street clothes on the bench from Memphis State. Tigers would like to see him suited up. We talked about a few breaks going the Tigers' way in the second half. Not much of a foul that time by Nelson, but out of position. And Kelvin Allen has a chance for a 3-point play.
And Nelson has 4 fouls also. Well, we mentioned it a moment ago. We'll mention it again coming up right after our game. We'll take you out to Salt Lake City, the final of the WAC tournament.
The Bear. You got to like the Bear. He just finds a way to get it done. Last year, nobody gave him much credit. Pulls the shocker against Kansas in the tournament and gave Cincinnati a run for their money.
Remarkable guy, isn't he?
He's a lot of fun to be around. College basketball, it's a shame he's not in the Hall of Fame already. Should be.
Absolutely should be. Yusuf, jump stop, penetration, pulls up and scores. And it is a 1-point game again with 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining.
Now, if you're Memphis State, you don't want to play so aggressively that you give up an easy bucket. Keep your composure.
Bob Huggins wants a timeout. He'll talk it over with his troops. They lead by 1. They've never been behind. 1:26 left, and we'll be back. 1-point game. Memphis State has never led in the ball game.
I want to point out team fouls. Both teams in the double bonus, so you get 2 free throws. No pressure to have to hit the front end of the 1-and-1. And for Cincinnati, not a very good free throw shooting team anyway, and they have shot 44% this game. 13 of 29 from the charity stripe.
That's costing.
Well, if it ends up being a 1 or 2-point game and they come on the wrong end, that will be the area that they will think about long and hard.
Jackson swinging around for Van Exel. He has literally been invisible in the second half.
Now, the other thing that you don't want to do if you're Memphis State, if you're going to choose not to foul at the shot clock rundown, don't foul inside 10 seconds once that shot clock's got there. Partial block.
And a great play. Newsom and Hardaway gets it. And now with 53 seconds, Memphis State with a chance to be the master of its own fate. Difference of 14 seconds between the game clock and the shot clock.
Got to put it in Hardaway's hands. Let him penetrate, try to create something.
Jackson, who has done a pretty good job on Hardaway despite the fact that he has 28 points. That's how good a player he is. 15 seconds on the shot clock. And a timeout is called by Larry Finch. So we have 13 seconds on the shot clock, 27 seconds on the game clock. Bearcats lead it by 1, 73-72. Memphis State will have the ball and 13 seconds to shoot it. State has the basketball with 13 seconds left on the shot clock. Let me put you in the role of coach, John.
Well, of course, that percentage doesn't matter. 1 for 1 on this possession is all that counts. I think for Memphis State, ideally, you want to see Hardaway in some kind of multiple situation where he can drive, distribute, or take the shot. If the defense draws to him, Billy Smith would be the other option that you want to see kick out because he's the other guy that can create off the dribble. Rodney Newsom also the same capacity. But I think you got to go down with your gunslinger Hardaway.
And
that option is available.
Let me quickly say, too, that Douglas, as we mentioned, has been a primetime player on ESPN. He's won 2 games at the buzzer on national television on ESPN. So here we go.
Hardaway's not going to get it back.
8 seconds. Newsom forced the shot. Not a good shot. Fight for the rebound. Still alive. It'll be Cincinnati's ball. That was not a good shot by Newsom.
Give Cincinnati credit. They took Larry Finch's star player, Anthony Hardaway, right out of it. Once he made the inbounds pass, they draped him, never allowed the return pass. It's the best way to play defense against an All-American.
And Larry Finch up off the bench and talking to Hardaway, actually. Just let Newsom walk by him and say, well, wasn't a great shot, but what are you going to do? We still got a chance here. So with 18 seconds left now, the Bearcats will have the ball. And the way they've shot free throws, it's anything but a gimme. This game, Cincinnati, the reason for that is he's a pretty good free throw shooter.
You got to watch the breakout in this set going long.
And they got to hurry, and they get it into Gregor. And he's fouling a reach in by Mitchell. Well, I say he's a good free throw shooter, and I mean that relatively speaking.
Well, he's 68%. This is a very tough spot for Gregor coming in. He's a freshman. Forget all that. He's been sitting on the bench the entire second half. He's cold coming in here. This is one of the most difficult positions to come in. What you find is that your adrenaline is pumping. If you step back about 6 inches away from where you normally set up, the adrenaline should be taken out of it. But if he's long, it's because the adrenaline's pumping. And if you're short, that means the pressure has gotten to you.
24 of 35 from the free throw line this year.
The key for Memphis State, you must block out. You cannot afford to allow Cincinnati to come up for an offensive rebound here.
First shot off the left side.
That's tough. That's a tough situation. I don't care if you're a senior, whatever, to spend that much time on the bench, and then you come in, and then 3 seconds later, you immediately foul and put to the line. Once you've warmed up, broken a sweat, then you should be able to convert in this situation.
Billy Smith leading chairs. He missed them both, and the rebound comes down to the hands of Douglas.
Now Hardaway's got to take it the whole way now.
He's got Van Exel on his hip. Ran into the man, and they call it offense.
And that's the 5th foul on Anthony Hardaway.
Good call, too, incidentally. It was the right call. I just wanted to wait till I knew, so it's really a double whammy. Offensive foul and the 5th foul on Hardaway, and it was the right call.
That is a tough way to end what may be that young man's career in this building. Let's take a look at it. Hardaway with the right idea. He took it over. No chance not to get it back. Good call. Hardaway, that's just a little out of control. Not a popular call, but Nelson was set.
Yeah, did a nice job defensively, too. Just waited for the man. Didn't step to the man, waited for the man to come to him, knew the path to the basket.
Now, even with all this, we still got 7.9 seconds to go. Even if Cincinnati hits both, Memphis State could still tie it with a 3. But this puts a lot of pressure on Billy Smith now to be the guy to step up.
Nelson knocks it down.
And he's a 54% shooter. Again, let's look at it. Nelson set, good call. Not a popular one in this building, but it goes the other way.
So we'll take a timeout. 7.9 seconds remaining. Bearcats by 2, but it is not over yet, folks.
Championship, and UTEP has the early lead over New Mexico. We'll keep you updated and get you out to the game in a moment.
All right, thanks, John. We'll talk fast, I promise. Cincinnati 74, Memphis State 72, 7.9 seconds left. And Nelson will be at the free throw line. Here is the reset. Each team still with a timeout remaining. Memphis State the arrow, and remember, every free throw is not 1, but 2.
7.9 seconds, that's enough time to get it up, and maybe a quick follow if you get it up without a lot of hesitation to avoid the defensive pressure.
That's assuming Nelson misses, of course. Otherwise, you got to make a 3.
Got to block out again. Cincinnati's going to pressure. This is a good move. Take a little time off.
Risky pass off the hands of Newsom and out of bounds. They went a long way with that pass.
Newsom took his eye off the ball to see where the man was just for a split second, and then when he tried to pick it up, he didn't have it because he could have gotten that ball. It was a risky pass, but he could have gotten it. I think he took his eye just to see where the defensive man was just for a second. And they're going to sit, they're going to get Van Exel and Newsom, and they're going to tell him to quit woofing, quit all the taunting and discussion. This is where you really got to have immediate steal or draw the charge.
Durden in the ballgame for the first time, and Mitchell fouls him. So Durden will go to the free throw line, and he is not a guy you want to foul. 86% shooter.
But again, he's coming right off the bench, cold into the game. Cincinnati looking like they'll keep that championship mark. Fourth time these two teams have met in the last 2 years with a championship at stake. Cincinnati won the previous 3. Look like they'll make it 4 in a row, but a tremendous second-half comeback over Memphis State, one that I think will help them in the NCAA tournament next week. Very gallant effort by Memphis State.
Durden knocks it down, and now this one really is over with 2.7 seconds left and a 4-point Bearcat lead. Bearcats kind of the Los Angeles Raiders of college basketball, but
well, the commitment to excellence is very good.
I kind of like them, to tell you the truth. I really do. I like the way they play. They play hard. They do a little too much whooping, but they still are a very, very good basketball team, and they have shown that today as they win the Great Midwest Championship 77-72. For John Albright, I'm Barry Tompkins. Right now, let's take you back to the studio where John Saunders continues to hold forth. John.